Jacob, Niccolo, and Leal returned the body to the city and brought him to the town morgue after reporting his death to the royal guard. They were questioned relentlessly, but once the entire situation was explained, they learned something of interest. The guard they spoke to was an elderly man named Bernard who had apparently been in the royal army since he was no older than Jacob, who was 16 at the time. He seemed dreadfully troubled by the news. After hearing them out, he sighed, rolled his head from one side to the other, and then slouched in his chair. More and more young folk are having this curse brought down upon them. I've not seen this much senseless death since I was a boy, Bernard said. What? Did something happen when you were younger? Niccolo asked. Yes, I'm one of few in this town who remembers. It feels like it was a lifetime ago. I was just a young boy when the monstrous creature, unlike anything I'd ever seen, began attacking our town. The nameless creature was so sick and twisted it was essentially unable to be described, he explained. Oh, you're talking about the legend of Caprit and that woman, right? Jacob asked. Bernard seemed surprised, but nodded just the same. That's correct. So you really have been doing research all over town. And how is my old friend, Father Stone? Bernard asked. He seemed well. A bit hard of hearing these days, though, Niccolo said with a smirk. Bernard smiled widely and nodded, seeming quite pleased by his answer. That's grand. I should go pay him a visit sometime soon, he replied. Jacob, Niccolo, and Leal were pleased, but beginning to grow restless. Jacob stood up and stretched himself out. Well, I'm glad we could reunite some old friends, but we really need to go try and figure out more about this. I'm worried things are going to start getting worse around here, he remarked. Niccolo nodded and stood up too, seeming quite ready to move on. They were surprised when Bernard held out a hand to them. Hold on just a moment. Father Stone told you of the legend of Caprit, but did he tell you about what happened before that? He asked, catching their attention. Leal looked to them in surprise as they shook their heads. I thought as much. It seems his hearing isn't the only thing slipping away from him, but his memory as well. Regardless, before that creature showed up, our entire town had a massive economic downturn. King Xander had made a great military blunder, and it cost our entire town nearly every coin in our coffers. Our heroes listened very carefully as he continued. But not long after that, a miracle happened. A gigantic hoard of golden coins seemingly appeared out of thin air in the dead of night. Bernard reached into his pocket and pulled out one golden coin, showing them the wolf insignia upon one side. The coins looked exactly like this, but the strange part is what happened next. I suppose it wasn't that strange. People were hungry and desperate, and when they saw a massive pile of coin in the square, something seemed to come over some of them. Even my father was overcome, immediately running home and grabbing up the largest sack he could find, getting my brothers and I to come and help him. We filled the sack with coins and brought it back home, but he still didn't seem satisfied. We filled 3 more smaller sacks before the entire pile had been picked up by the town. There were several who'd gotten nothing in the short time the pile was in the square, and they began pleading with those like my family who had taken as much as they could carry. We were just as poor as they were, and my father simply ignored their cries. I was glad he didn't notice it when I stole a sack of coin and gave it to the family of my best friend. But then, just like now, people began transforming into horrible creatures when night fell. The strange part was, just after they transformed, the entire town shook with a howling gale unlike anything I've ever felt. And as the wind rushed across their new forms, the people were returned to their former selves, as if the wind itself purified them, Bernard told. So that's why every home around here has wind chimes. With a call for Caprit to protect them, Niccolo remarked quietly. Bernard nodded to him. Yes, that's correct. I've heard tell that other towns nearby have similar legends and often keep wind chimes close at hand. But there's still a little more to my story, Bernard said, making them give pause. You see, after Caprit made that strange monster leave town for good, something beyond unusual happened. My father had been keeping our sack of coin under the floorboards in our home, and we went to gather some coin to buy some food with. But when we opened the floor, our nostrils were assaulted by an awful stench. We checked in the bag to find it soaked in blood, but there was no money inside, no signs of a struggle, and we had no idea where our coins had gone. Jacob and Niccolo exchanged glances, unsure of exactly what that could mean. Bernard held up the coin and eyed it. These coins look exactly the same, but I have no idea what that really means. All I know is, my prayers lay with Caprit.